How's it going? Thanks for downloading the show. Welcome to Garden Fork Radio. My name is Eric. I'm your host. It's Eclectic DIY. Today, Bob, the tank driver and telephone lineman, was with us. He's going to talk about stoning people, which I don't know what that is, and how you can write your first novel, because Bob just wrote another one. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I hope you're doing well.
We are. We just had a kind of a long chat about my relationship driving Dick Wolf for the TV show Law and Order. And if you become a Golden Premium Patreon subscriber, I might tell you the story. Because I can't tell it on the air.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. It was a good story, Eric. It was a good story.
You'd be surprised. Go ahead.
I would literally pay to hear that.
It's funny how many people watch Law and Order today. You know, this, what is it, like 15 years of shows or 20 years of shows or something?
Oh, I don't know, but they're so old, and they got all the knockoffs, you know, the spin-offs.
Yes. The lady that does SVU is a really, I've never met her in person, but I've heard her interviewed and stuff, and she's a great person. She works with women who have been victims of assault, abuse. I don't know what the right words are there, but she's using her famousness for good works.
Yeah, that Mariska Hargitay.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, yeah. Good for her.
Yeah. And she's really smart because, you know, she got to be a star and then she didn't run off to want to do movies and all this other kind of stuff and leave the show. She stuck with it, and look at the career she built out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, look at the career I've built.
Yeah.
Please watch my videos. Anyway, so you sent me a list here, and the first one is stoned him 5 times and got to see the ripples. I have no idea what that is.
Okay, well, on my channel, Scarfinger, you know, I do all these stories. I haven't done one in a while because I've been tied up in finishing up my novel. But I do all these stories about good things, positive things that happen to people, and how you can influence somebody's day just, you know, by being nice and stuff. And the philosophy of the channel is, when you drop a stone into a pond, you don't necessarily get to see what happens. All you do is generate ripples, hopefully of positivity, and you don't always get to see what happens as a result of it. So we were on our way down to my son in South Florida, and we usually do it in 2 days. So we stopped at the hotel, and then we went out to get a bite to eat. And this gentleman, the guy behind the bar, he was in some kind of a terrible, terrible bad mood. And he walks up to us, and he goes, "What do you want?" And I said, "Well, a couple menus would be nice." Okay. So he gets some menus, and he tosses them at us on the bar. Doesn't hand them to us, doesn't lay it in front of us. He just kind of like throws them. And I look at my wife, and we thought, "Oh man, this is really going to be a joyous time." So he passes. He doesn't ask us what we want or nothing. He just walks on by, and he goes to a guy sitting at the bar about 3 stools away, and they've known each other, I guess. And he started talking, and the guy says, "Chris," and Chris is the bartender. He says, "Chris, how's it going?" And Chris goes, "It's terrible. I can't stand it. This new baby's keeping us up. I can't ever get any sleep," and blah, blah, blah. He's going on and on. He says, "I haven't slept but a couple hours in a week." And right away I thought, well, no wonder he's so grumpy. The poor guy got a brand new baby and he can't sleep.
Yeah.
So he comes back over, and he says, "What do you have?" And I said, "Well, we'd like a couple draft beers." Okay. I said, "Well, what can you tell us what draft beers you have?" So he rips off like 5 different drafts, and we can't see the pulls because the way they had them set up, you couldn't see them from the bar.
Yeah.
And so he rips them through. He goes so fast, I can't even hear what he's saying. But I did recognize a Yingling, And I said, well, I'll have a Yingling. And Diane, my wife says, I'll have a Bud Light. Okay. So I excused myself to go wash my hands and everything. When, when I come back, my wife looks at me. She says, oh, this is going to be so exciting. This guy is really angry. And because he threw the beers on the bar and he slopped them over. I mean, he was just terrible. So I said, look, babe, you want to leave the bar? We'll go get at a table. We'll have a different service. She said, no, no, no. Let's just play this out. She said, let's drop some stones and see what happens. And so we started. How are you? Heard you got a new baby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, we went on, and I started calling him by his name because everybody feels better when you call him by their name.
Yeah.
So we went and we just kept dropping stones. By the time we were done, it took us 5 attempts, but by the time we were done, when we first saw this guy, he had like hatred in his eyes, and his jaws were so locked up
Yep.
and tense. Well, by the time we got done with him, he was totally relaxed. You could see it in his eyes and all this kind of stuff. And we had kind of a pleasant conversation afterwards. And so we paid our check and we left. And we're walking out to the parking lot. My wife says, well, 5 times. And we gave each other a high five and got in the car and left. And I got a comment when I did that video. I got a comment from one of your subscribers, Dance6364,
Uh-huh.
who said that he said when you do another podcast on Garden Fork, bring it up. So that's why I brought it up.
So dropping a stone is like a icebreaker, or trying to get someone
Yeah,
to relate.
yeah, yeah. Just drop a stone. The stone sinks, and the stone never sees the ripples, but the ripples go on and on and on and affect things. They can rock boats. They can do all kinds of things, and the stone never gets to see what happened. So that's the whole principle. Do something nice and just move on, and hopefully that person will then do something nice or just feel better for their own day. That's the whole concept of it. And you very seldom do you ever get to see the ripple. Well, this time we actually got to see the ripple, and it was enjoyable.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yep.
It's yeah, just doing the right thing, and then and yeah, I don't really have the words to express it, but just kind of
Yeah.
karma is boomerang.
Yeah. There you go. That's right. So Dan6364, there you go, buddy. Uh, I told you I'd do it for you, and I did it.
Well, like I was just on the phone with we have an app for our car from the car manufacturer, and I was trying to change my email address, and no matter what web browser I used on my Mac here, it was failing at the last portion, at the last step. Some kind of, and the little code, the little HTML code or whatever would come up on the screen, and I'm like, oh, this is wrong, you know.
Right.
So they actually have an 800 number that you can call for Volkswagen, and the lady was super nice, and I was, I always make jokes like that because they always go, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" And I always go, "I'd like a burrito, 2 tacos, and a Diet Coke."
Mm-hmm.
And there's usually silence. And then I just start laughing, and they're like, usually it's like, I would love one too,
Yeah, right.
because
But boy,
they
right off the bat, I'm sure they're thinking, "What the heck is this?"
that's really what I would like. So, or I say, how about tonight's lottery numbers? And they'll be, oh yeah, I wish that. And I always
Yeah.
say, I go, let me bet there's an after call survey and I will give you 5 stars. And in this time, she said, well, unfortunately, there's not a survey. I said, well, they're listening, and I'm going to tell them right now to give you a raise. So,
There you go.
and they always just try and pay it forward because I think probably 80-90% of the people that call them are angry, like the bartender.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't call
Well,
you don't call the software support people because you're happy.
exactly. Yeah, because you're in a panic. Something terrible has happened. Yeah.
But on the subject of stones, For some reason, YouTube suggested I watch a documentary about the stone skipping world championships.
Uh-huh.
And that is a real thing, and it is held in Scotland. And it was insane how they would. These are not beefed up people. It's men and women. They just look like everyday people. And then they have this odd. It looks like they're throwing a baseball overhand pitch, but they kind of are on their side, and it goes beep, 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 beep. And some of them had like 87 skips before they sunk. And I don't know
Wow.
how they count that, but this one guy won who seemed less than happy, but it was still very interesting about the cast of characters in this super niche genre of sports, you know?
Right.
So,
Isn't Scotland the place that has that race where you carry your wife?
oh, I don't
Have you
know. I
ever
thought they have
seen?
a race where you carry a telephone pole, but
Well, they probably have that too. But yeah, I think it's Scotland where you have a race and you have to carry your wife.
okay.
And the way they carry them is the lady, the wife, usually hangs off the guy's back upside down, and she has her legs wrapped around his head, and that's the way they race down. I don't know. I've seen it a couple times. It's just funny to me.
All right, we won't be doing that.
No, not me.
All right, I was very curious this topic, a 90 mile per gallon Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah. Uh, you got me when you started asking me all this stuff about the phone company. Things popped up in my head that I remember from, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. And one of them was a guy I worked with. We were both the same level in management. And he was a sweet guy, but just a little goofy. And he
Who's
kept
this sound
bragging.
like?
Yeah. And he kept bragging that he bought this Volkswagen. This is in the 70s when we had the gas shortages and stuff.
Yep.
And he kept bragging about this Volkswagen he got. It was a used Volkswagen. It's one of the really old ones that didn't have a gas gauge. It had
Yep.
a spare tank. So when you ran, like like in a plane, you switch tanks when you run out with one. And and he kept bragging to everybody. So what the guys did, the construction guys and stuff, what they did was they would bring a quart of gasoline to work in the morning, and they would put it in his Volkswagen. And since there was no gas gauge, all he knew is he was never running out of gas to where he had to switch to the other tank. And the more that went on, the more he would brag about his fantastic gas mileage. And every day they'd be putting a quart or a couple quarts of gas into his thing. I'd say, Chuck, the way that thing's going, the gas is going to be overflowing. It's going to be coming back out of the tank. I said, when's the last time you put gas in it? He said, I don't remember. It's just going on forever and ever and ever. Oh, it was a fun place to work. How
Wow.
much? Yeah,
I've heard a lot of car antics, but I've never heard that one before.
yeah.
Did he ever let on? Anyone ever tell him or?
Yeah, yeah. It was like it went on for like a couple months, and then they told him. And I think what they were getting ready to do was instead of putting gas in, they were going to siphon some out.
Oh,
But I don't think it ever got that far.
I mean, Volkswagen Beetles do get amazing gas mileage.
Yeah, but not that good.
And I've owned 7 or 8 of them, and they're
Yeah.
in college. I used to buy and sell them, and put my way through. I worked at a foreign car shop, and people would come to the counter and be like, "I'm quitting school. I'm selling everything. Will you buy my car?" And whoever was at the front counter had first dibs on this kind of thing, and I would buy these cars for very inexpensively and then fix them up. So. And the engines come out, they're so easy to pull out. You
Yeah, they
jack up
are.
the rear tires. There's 6 bolts that hold the engine onto the transmission. You disconnect the fuel line, the coil wire, and the throttle cable, and the thing just pops out and drops out the bottom of the car. So
Yeah.
nice.
Yep. We used to, when I was in high school, we used to make dune buggies out of them,
Yep.
and put big balloon tires on them. Take the body off. So basically, you just had the frame and the engine, and big balloon tires, and you could go all over on the beaches and stuff. And you never get stuck.
I love it. I don't know. I mean, I guess now kind of like a quad or a gator is kind of some of these big mud buggies are kind of the same version of that,
Right.
but we didn't build them. So,
Yeah. Well, we were just a bunch of poor kids. We couldn't afford to
yeah.
buy anything like that.
What's this one about fixing a hairline crack in a fiberglass shower?
Yeah. I need your help on this. Um, it's our guest shower. Nobody hardly ever uses, just a few times a year. And I was looking at it one day, and I saw what I thought was a hair on the side of the tub, kind of like where the top of the tub meets the wall.
Yep.
So I went and I went to move it, and I felt it was a crack. So it's about 4 inches, not even that long. It's probably about 2.5 inches long, and you can barely see it. Like I say, if you see it, it looks like a hair,
Yeah.
on the thing. And now I know you're supposed to put a hole at each end of the line. Is that right?
Yes, that will keep it from expanding.
Expanding. And then can I fill it with some fiberglass filler? I don't want to put a patch or nothing on it, fiberglass cloth and all that stuff,
Right.
because it doesn't. It's such a tiny thing, and I could mess it up by doing too much to it.
The
But there is a fiberglass filler that I think I can put it on there. But how am I going to get it smooth?
the problem is it's a hairline crack, so the repair stuff has nothing to go into.
Right.
There's not enough for the material to grab onto. They might make something that is kind of like a glue that goes on the surface and will, I don't know if what the word is to bond it, but that's probably the closest thing you're going to get. What the
Yeah.
problem is to me, that's a red flag that somewhere the tub is not supported underneath.
Mm.
That's what's causing the crack is there's stress right there. Like when
I
people,
thought.
when you put in a bathtub or a lot of these shower things, what some contractors will do is, there's plywood under there or something, is
Hmm.
they get a bag of cement and they don't wet the cement. It's just powder, and they put the bathtub on top of that, and you kind of push it around to get it level, and you let it sit because the humidity in the air will eventually solidify the cement.
Oh.
And then you've got a support that has formed itself to the bottom of the tub. I don't know if people do that nowadays or not. Sometimes they take wet cement and do it too, but cement shrinks a little bit. But to me, that points at either manufacturing defect or there's not enough support in that one area, and that's why it's cracking.
Yeah.
But
And it is on an exterior wall, so I'm wondering if temperature changes on that wall.
yeah,
Could,
the hot cold.
yeah.
There's a website called Stack Exchange, and
Uh-huh.
they have a DIY section, and it is visited by people that actually know what they're doing with stuff.
Hmm.
There might be an answer there. There's a lot of these sites that are just kind of clickbait. Is one called Just Answer or something, or Just Ask, that kind of thing. But this is like a legit place. Also, This Old House has a forum, but I think you have to pay to be a member of that one now. I
Yeah.
could be wrong about that. I don't have. Wow,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
really have
just
an answer. Sorry.
yeah, I'm just concerned that, I start messing around with it, and I make the whole thing worse than what it really is. And since it doesn't really ever get used, may- maybe I'll just drill, little tiny holes at
Yeah,
the end of each end of the crack and see how it holds up.
that's how they sometimes fix holes on the cracks in aircraft and maybe
Uh-huh.
even spacecraft. I could be wrong. Oh, this is okay. So on the International Space Station, one of
Uh-huh.
the Russian modules has a hairline crack that is leaking air out of the station.
Ooh.
and it became an international problem because it's the Russians and the Americans want them to fix it, and the Russians are being Russians. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, we're kind of sort of. It depends on who you ask as to who's, the Russians are fighting the Ukrainians, who are our friends,
Right.
But they were, I'm not sure if they did it or they were about to do it. Scott Manley on YouTube has a great deep space updates video every week, and he talks about this at length. Is they were going to, with their cordless drill a hole at each end of the crack
Huh.
and then fill it. So,
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, they could put duct tape on
yeah, gorilla tape even better.
it. Yeah.
So the last but biggest topic here I wanted to ask you about is you. I didn't really even know this. I'm sorry, but Nicole said, "Oh, I just got Bob's newest book," and I was curious about how you get yourself to write a book.
Oh, well, first off, it's it's your fault and Nicole's fault that I started this because you
You're
guys were
welcome.
talking yeah, well you guys were talking about one of your podcasts about things people should do, and I really think it was Nicole said people should, because she's written her book Tilting,
Yep.
which I had read, and I just fell in love with it. I love her writing style, and you guys were talking about it and said, well, people should try doing something like that. Well, I'm so old. There's a lot of things, especially DIY stuff I used to love to do that I just physically can't do anymore. And so I thought, well, something like that might. And all of a sudden, this whole characters, all these people started showing up in my head, have carrying on conversations and doing things and all this kind of stuff. And it was a lot. Like I went on for like almost a year, I would say, before I actually put pen to paper. And I just thought, well, if I'm going to do this, quit thinking about it and just do it. So I started writing, and of course, my wife bears the brunt of editing because I'm just, I am just not that educated of a person, and she's very good at it. And so we kind of worked together to get it done. And that was my first novel, and which is not not good at all. I mean, I don't think it was that good, but I just wanted to experience getting something published. Not that I ever thought anybody would buy it or want to read it or anything. I just wanted to go through the experience to do something different for neuroplasticity,
Yeah. Yeah. Working your
and I
brain.
did. Yeah, and I did, and it worked out, and I got it published, and I've made some royalties off of it. And the problem is, once I was done, the the characters never moved out of my head.
Uh,
I had to evict them and say, well, you're done with, you're over. And it took like 3 weeks before I stopped thinking about them in the middle of the night when I'd wake up. And so I guess it was like 6 or 7 months. And I thought, maybe I'll try and write another book. Well, boy, they came flooding back in. And there's a whole nother story. And I think the second book is actually better than the first one. No, thank goodness. I mean, I learned something from the first one.
yeah. Yeah.
But people should try it. I mean, and even if it's not good, doesn't matter. It's a great exercise to go through the process. And I was very fortunate, and I'm very thankful that Nicole's second book, she gave me a copy of it. She's not done with it, but she gave me a copy of it to go through it. And I, I think, I hope she finishes it and really gets it published because it's a fascinating story. It's about her grandmother
Yes.
or one of her grandmothers and the life that this lady lived. Oh my God, it is so interesting, and it's fascinating. To me, it is, and I just hope she go ahead and gets it done because I think a lot of people would enjoy reading it. But yeah, that's what happened, and I actually wound up enjoying the process.
So did you? I mean, did you just look up how to write a book, or did you know about any, about the story structure or how to do chapters? I mean, was there any guide, or I think if people had a PDF of how to do it, or maybe a coaching app or something.
Right. Well, a lot of it, I went to YouTube University.
Oh, that place. I've heard of
Yeah,
that place.
yeah, I know it. And there are so many people giving advice about how to write a book, and a lot of it is redundant because the principles are the principles.
Yeah.
And somebody says here, and I found a couple people that I really enjoyed their presentation of how to write a book, and they go into a lot of detail. Don't use these words, don't use those words, and how to structure a book the proper way. Which some of it I don't understand. Like the first paragraph in a chapter should never be indented, but all the rest are. In my limited knowledge of this, it's like, well, why would you do that? Why would you not indent the first one? And I still don't know the reason for that, except that that's the rule.
It's
And
it's a style sheet thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure, but I guess sometimes I think I'm too logical for my own good.
I'll just
So
pass on that. So
yeah, yeah,
I yeah, I don't see myself writing a book. I don't a fiction book. I don't see myself doing that. And then one publisher approached me about writing a book about making maple syrup, and I was not in the right frame of mind to answer any emails, and I did anyway.
mm-hmm,
And I said, "Why would anyone want to write a book about such an obvious subject?" And I pissed off the editor. And then I realized a couple of weeks later that I apologized to them, and I never heard back. And I was like, it might have been interesting to write a. I just felt very underqualified to write that book. And I also thought
well,
that it was pretty darn obvious how you make maple syrup.
yeah, it's obvious to you because you make it,
Yeah.
but it's not. I mean, I couldn't. All I know is to do. You got to get some buckets and some hoses, and then you take and dump some stuff that into a file cabinet, and you set the file cabinet on fire, and out the other end comes maple syrup. So I think if I ever attempted that, a reference book would be a good idea.
I did have an aha moment the other day because I was looking in my shed where all my maple syrup gear is, and I have a half-built evaporator, and I've been looking on Craigslist for a legal size file cabinet to make the one I really want to make. And then I realized that it's getting much harder to find file cabinets because no one has any paper anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Eric, you have a welder, you know how to cut metal, you can just reconfigure the one you have. And I was like, oh.
There you go. See?
Because what I want to do is because you've got the firebox and you've got your evaporator tray, and the fire is at one end of the tray, and then you essentially have like a very long exhaust chute that goes across the bottom of the pan that take the hot air or hot gases across and boil, and then there's a chimney at the other end. And that space where it's traveling is too narrow on the one I built. And I thought, well, I just need to start over. But what I realized is I could just extend the bottom of that space with just some sheet metal, just weld it in or pop rivet it in. I could make a deeper channel. I don't know what that's called. And then it would work. And I'm like, oh, because again, I'm thinking I have to make it more complicated. And I'm also wanting to simplify the reverse osmosis rig because right now it's kind of big and awkward. And I've seen people that their reverse osmosis rig is this totally miniaturized. It's on some of them called the Ara bucket. It's in a 6-gallon plastic bucket, the whole thing. I mean, you have to take it all
Really?
apart to clean it. But so I want to and my goal to simplify my life, I have this, it's a 4-bay sheet of plywood. It's a big sheet of plywood that has all the filters on it and the pump and the hoses and the gauge. And I'm like, it's an albatross. I just look at it and I go, what am I going to do with that thing?
Yeah.
So I want to make that
Yeah.
all simplify. But yeah. All right. So we're all gonna start. We could have a write a book club.
Yeah, there you go.
Huh. Well,
Listen,
cool.
you remember that video you made about splitting wood?
The one that everyone likes to watch.
Yeah. Why do people find that so fascinating? I mean, I've watched it several times. It's just, to me, it's just fascinating, and I don't know why. Is it an ASMR thing or whatever they call that stuff?
It might be. I think it's just there's a ritual there. It's you're opening up a log that looks like no one could open up. There's
Hmm.
this plunger thing that goes through and splits it, and the sound is really cool.
Hmm.
And I find splitting wood very relaxing because it's so loud that you have the earmuffs on, and so you have this kind of muffled sound,
Right.
and you have to pay attention because if your hand or your whoever you're splitting with, if you're splitting together, if their hand is in the wrong place, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have one. I have another one. I was just sitting in a folder here. I should edit that and put it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I tell you, I never checked. Did it get a lot of views or?
Yeah, more than usual, and good feedback, which is
Yeah.
unusual. So
Yeah.
usually people are yelling at me. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's always experts somewhere, right?
Ah, well, cool. So Bob and I are going to stick around and talk about. I finally cleaned the the vent pipe of my clothes laundry dryer.
Uh-huh.
I got all the lint out of the dryer vent, and it was a really fun experience. So I wanted to talk about that. That'll be in the after show. If you want to get that, you can become a supporter of Garden Fork for a cup of coffee a month. That information is below. It's on patreon.com/gardenfork as well. Yeah, just post interesting stuff. You can follow me for free on there and see what I'm all about. And if you want to dip your toes in with a cup of coffee, then you get the after show and some more pictures and stuff. How's that for a pitch?
Great.
All right.
Sold me.
Everyone, just let me know your thoughts. It's gardenfork87@gmail. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Garden Fork Radio is produced by Garden Fork Media in Brooklyn, New York. Our music is licensed from uniquetracks.com and audioblocks.com.